How do you deal with challenging kids in your kids' ministry? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Our second grade class, we had three boys, and man, their energy, they just worked off each other. And it never failed that they were constantly having some sort of a challenge in that classroom. They were climbing on top of the tables, under the tables. Coloring time turned into coloring on other kids' times. It seemed like the teachers were always talking about these three boys. And as that year went on, that second grade class, well, it was the teachers who ended up quitting. I lost two adult leaders, and my team leader ended up moving into preschool, never to go back to elementary again. And so as I looked at these three boys moving into third grade, I realized I needed to be more active, and I needed to come up with a better plan on how to deal with these challenging kids. How do you work with them? And so I got involved in their class. I started watching these three boys and knowing, how can I help them? How can I help the teachers so I don't have three more teachers quit this next round? How do you deal with those challenging kids? So as those three boys were in third grade, I realized I had to get more involved in their lives. And it helped me put some things in place that we've used for years since then on ways to create an engaging environment for kids that are, to be honest, challenging. And so one of those things that start off right on top is say, do not label them. Do not call them names. They're not bad kids. They're not evil. They're not possessed. Okay, they're good kids who sometimes make bad choices. And as leaders, it's our responsibility to get them pointed the right direction so they can make those good choices. So we reward them for those good choices without always having to talk about the challenge that they are. Don't label those kids. I don't have three challenging kids. I got three kids with lots of energy that I need to help direct in the right way. So let's talk more specifically. What are some other things you can do? Well, you need to realize their attention span is only about 2 to 3 minutes. That means you need to have more activities for that teacher, more activities for that class. You need to train that teacher on the importance of constantly moving on to the next thing. You can't just do a 5-minute lesson, a 5-minute coloring page, 10 minutes of playtime, and hope the parents show up. You have to be more structured in there, which is on the next point. No chaos. The more structure you have, the better it is. And stay consistent with that. No surprises. These kids need to know what's happening next so they can prepare accordingly for it. And even if they're bored with this part, at least they know in another minute and a half, it's going to change. They're going to get something different. Additionally, give them some leadership roles. Sometimes they just need to feel like they have something extra that they can do. Maybe have them clean up an area, organize something, give them something to do beyond just what the rest of the kids are. They've got extra energy. Use that to your advantage. Make sure if you have rules that you're constantly enforcing them accordingly, and then reward those kids for doing a good job. And also remember, when you talk to those parents at the end of the day, those three kids as parents all knew what kind of a headache those kids could be at time because they were hearing it every day from their teachers at school. Be that positive voice to their parents. Hey, they did great today. We helped redirect them a couple times and it turned out to be a really great time. And finally, let me encourage you with this. You need to have a clear discipline process. What does that look like when they act up? They need to know what that looks like. So for us, we put in a process that simply was this. First, we separate you. We move you to a different part of the room. After that, we set you aside for a minute. You sit by a teacher for a couple minutes and talk about what happened and how we could have done that differently. We don't really call it a timeout, but it is a time to be able just to sit off to the side and think about ways they can make better choices. If they continue to have a challenge, then they get to talk to Pastor Tony. And I get to go in and speak into their life and speak hope into them, but also make sure I'm correcting them. And then if it goes past that, we're going to have to talk to their parents and get their parents involved. Now, I guarantee you those kids don't want you to talk to their parents. So if they know the process, they're going to push their luck a little bit. But they don't want to talk to Pastor Tony. And if they do, they know that's the final straw. Okay, you don't want to get in more trouble. You want to make sure you've got a clear process in place for those kids. You know, I always talked about it this way. I said, those kids are going to be great youth pastors someday. In fact, your grandkids are going to love them as their youth pastors. Got lots of energy, lots of excitement. Let's make sure we're pointing them in the right direction. These kids are excited from church. They're excited to make friends. They're excited to hear about God. So let's not try to quiet them down or slow them down. Let's let them engage at their speed. These challenging kids, they're great kids, and God has a great plan for their life. Speak hope into them. Speak life into them, and create processes so they can experience who God is without burning out your teachers. Hey, this is Pastor Tony reminding you to keep your kids' ministry fresh.